a pause. So I know that, and I have asked you, please look at the newsletter, follow in the newsletter, you see what's happening. And the newsletter this week was out there with a beautiful picture of Reverend Michelle saying that she would be here to speak with you today. And I know it's a beautiful picture because being my wife, it's always a beautiful picture. It has to be. But for those of you who are not aware, I am not Reverend Michelle. I'm not trying to fool you. This isn't a trick. It's not a gimmick. Reverend Michelle woke up this morning feeling not well, a little under the weather, and asked me if I would cover the talk today, which I immediately said yes to. And the reason I immediately said yes is because I love this topic. I love what she was picking to speak about today. And if you saw it in the newsletter, you might have a bit of a glimpse of it, but let me read it to you. The title is, and the prize goes to, and here's the description. And the prize goes to whoever survived this year, whoever smiled anyway, and whoever managed to keep a tiny bit of hope in their heart. So, who do we give the prize to? Well, I think we give the prize to all of those, because I think, and as the meditation was a minute ago, as challenging as things might have been, there is always good to be found. And as challenging as it is at times, there is always the realization of life happens for me. Okay. It's tough to see sometimes, but with what we know and this teaching, we always can open up to that and allow to get the answer to that life is happening for me. What is it that I need to see in this? What is the message that Spirit is trying to give me? I had that recently myself when I was pulled over and given a ticket for something I didn't do. And I got quite upset. Got really, really upset. And for those of you who know me, seeing Neil angry is an unusual thing. I had somebody who worked for me for about 4 or 5 years. And one day she said, "Oh my God, I am so happy." I go, "Why?" She goes, "I can go home tonight and then tell my husband, I actually saw Neil get angry today." It took 4 or 5 years to get there, but I did. But after realizing how this emotion was welling up in me, it was the opportunity to sit down, close my eyes, and be open to, I know everything happens for me. So what is this trying to tell me? And I was flooded with an enormous feeling of compassion for people who are unjustly accused. Being a white male in this society, I don't normally have those things happen to me. It's a matter of privilege that I enjoy that a lot of people don't. And if nothing else, it allowed me to feel this just enormous feeling of compassion. So there was a great lesson. However, looking back across this year, whoever survived this year, we all did, we're here. And that's a beautiful thing. Whoever smiled anyway, yes, there was good that happened in this. And whoever managed to keep a tiny bit of hope, well, I think we have more than just hope. And what is it that provides that for us, that foundation? This was a fantastic year for us. We did a series of Sunday talks all year long that were chapters in the textbook to understand this teaching, to go back and revert to what is this teaching. And we did it week by week. And we had Reverend Jolie and we had Reverend Dr. Michelle, and we had Tony, and we had different speakers come to us where we were able to revisit the basic principles of this teaching that allow us to live this incredibly wonderful, abundant life, even in the midst of a pandemic, which somebody told me there was a pandemic this past year, I guess, that was in all the papers, right? Oh, by the way, for those of you folks under 45 years old, newspapers are a thing we used to read in order to find information on stuff, so I know you don't see those anymore, but they're hard to find. But through this tumultuous year in a lot of different ways, it was revisiting the teaching that has helped so many. And we were there in it all year long. We were there with it, in our Psalm Sunday, Science of Mind Everyday Sundays at 9:00. And we literally did read the textbook in 1 year by following what our spiritual leader, who is now Edward, has laid out, which is a beautiful way of putting this all together, including where he came to, and we'll get to that in a minute, in the general summary for this year and the final conclusion on some of these readings. So those are wonderful. So yes, you do get the prize for being positive and powerful. You do get the prize for being the kind individual you are in the midst of all of this craziness that's been going on. And I love the fact that we are all here to rely on each other to help and remind each other. And I've said it many times, I don't necessarily show up on a Sunday because what I'm hearing is like, oh my God, I've never heard that before, right? A lot of Sundays I show up and it's like, oh, wow, I never heard it expressed that way. And that's fantastic, right? But what I do know is that I'm human. And I know that I tend to go in human directions, and I show up every Sunday because it's a great reminder for me to pay attention to these core principles, right? And the core principle of me being this divine expression, being the sense of no separation, of being an exquisitely divine expression of our source, our creator, God. And one of the things that I know that I love is the way Holmes expresses how we live this as individuals. And we've all gone through everything we've gone through now, as individuals. We're here to support each other, but we all have different experiences and we all live this teaching in an individual way. And on page 417, paragraph 2 in the textbook, I'll read this one paragraph to you. To assert our individuality is to rise above the law of averages into that more highly specialized use of the law, which brings freedom rather than bondage, joy in the place of grief, and wholeness instead of sickness. We cannot do this unless we are first willing to judge not according to appearances. In this judging, not according to appearances, we are impressing the law with a new idea of ourselves, a less limited idea, and we are learning to think independently of any existing circumstances. This is what is meant by entering the absolute. And the beautiful thing of this teaching is that it empowers us, as we say all the time. It's the third part of our opening that we are constantly looking to, right? It is the science of mind teaching that empowers us. And where is it? What does it do? And how does it lead us to being empowered? And I want to go back to something you may have heard before. I know you've heard it before if you've been here long enough. If you're not, it's new to you. And that is to look at how we have handled this year. And in Psalm Sunday this morning, I heard some just beautiful conversations about this. And That is going back to what we know as the 4 stages of this process, right? And the first stage of the process here is believing that things happen to me. And this is the role of the victim. And that's where we mostly start out, because we're looking outside of ourselves and seeing how is this being affecting me from the outside in, okay? It is the first stage along the spiritual path, and it's a reactive one. It's one where we are always reacting to life happening to me. And we know that's not true. And I know many of us aren't at that point right now. It may be true that occasionally go, why me? Right? Where we have that expression, but we know it's not really happening to me, right? And we see so many people, and you can identify them. And that's why we ask you to hand out these invitations to people to join us in January to learn the core of this teaching. Because listen, if you can help somebody get out of the to me phase, out of the victim role, out of that reactive role, you are helping them beyond what you can possibly believe to move from that place. But when we move from that place, where do we go? Okay. The next phase is the by me phase. Okay. We go from the to me to the by me. And that's where we come to understand that we direct the creative flow of our universe. We are the ones who are in directing that creative flow. And when you come back in January and we go through the first sections of the textbook, that is one of the beautiful things that we talk about, the 4th section of the book. And I will be actually doing that talk again. I've done it for many years. And that is how to use it. And that is basically on how do we use and direct the creative flow from spirit, right? We do it with our thoughts and our intentions. Okay. And that's really important. You need to have the intentions, excuse me, you need to have the thoughts in order to be in place. Okay. What is manifested on the outside is the effect of what is on the inside. And there's a simple phrase: the world in me is the world I see. Right? You can't see a different world than what is going on inside of you. There's also the expression, and I know you've heard it, everywhere you go, there you are. Okay. I had somebody say to me, a client I was working with a number of years ago, who said, you know what, I can't do this anymore. I can't handle this. I'm going to move to Italy. And I'm like, that's a great idea. I'd love to be in Italy. That sounds fantastic. Let's go live in Italy. I said, but let me warn you, when you get to Italy, you're going to run into you as soon as you get there. And when you run into you, you're going to say, well, maybe Italy isn't the place, where this is going to happen. It has to happen from the inside. This has to, life is an inside job. And it's really, really important that we pay attention to that and we know that. So we move from the to me to the by me. Okay, that life does happen by me, that I'm directing the creative flow in this. And I have the intention, I have the attention, the awareness, and the intention and the proper thoughts to put this into the right direction for my life. But here comes the really important part. After this, we move into through me. Okay, to me, by me, through me. What happens when we move past beyond by me? We realize that there is a power and a presence within us. You'll hear this in a lot of treatments. You'll hear this every time we get together. There is a power and a presence that is always there, that I am one with, that I am not separate from. If you get this understanding, This is where the basis of everything happens for me comes from. Life has to happen for me because I am one with the power and the presence of making this happen. And just in case you don't understand, the presence is the love, okay? The love of the divine, the love, which is the core, which lays the foundation for everything. And the power is the law. The power is the law that says yes all the time, that has to say yes. When you get to this point of having the intention and the thoughts, it's being in this place of releasing this. And we say this at the end of every treatment. I release this into the law that always says yes, that makes it so. You have to get, you do get exactly what you're looking for. Okay, this is how it works. It always says yes, right? So this is the, there's an expanded sense of self. And that's why I read this about the individuality before from Holmes, because this is all about self. This is all about self-love. This is all about self-expression, but based in a self-creation that is there from this foundation of knowing. There is that we create the world inside of us, and life itself, the universe, God, however you want to view it, says yes, unless we're so tightly connected to it that we don't allow it to work through us. And here's the huge part. All right, we chart the course, we set the direction, but then we allow spirit to move through us and to let, as we say, as we've said many, many times, and you've heard it also, this again, we decide what, God decides how. You'll hear that expression all the time. And I know, because we heard conversation this morning, Gary, do I have your permission to use your name here in your story?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Gary ran into a similar situation that we did with looking for a new house. And, he got to the position of knowing what he wanted to do and having an idea, but when he actually let go and he allowed, it appeared better and right there for him. And that is Gary experiencing life through him. Michelle and I had the same thing this year. We were looking for a house. We had a whole thing. It was all set, it was, oh no, this is how it's going to be. This is what it's going to be. And then all of a sudden it all fell apart. And we stopped and we said, no, let's treat. Let's put ourselves in the consciousness of allowing life to happen through us. And we did. We let go. We surrendered. We allowed. And in that moment, 10 minutes later, of course, the phone rang and we had a far better situation. We still ended up with a house. We still ended up with exactly what we were looking for, but it was better than what we were looking for. It was a better experience. It was an incredibly better way in every way for us, in location and money and every single situation. So this is the point of letting go and allowing and having this happening through me. And that is a wonderful and beautiful part of what we learn in this teaching. And then, of course, the fourth stage in all of this is as me. That's a very high level, and that is the level of the Christ consciousness, of being into that place where there is basically no movement. It is simply spirit as me. And for most of this year, so many of us have done so well. And yes, the prize goes to you, simply because you did allow life to happen. You did trust the fact that life happens for you. You did get to this place where you are here today, the last Sunday of the year. One of the things that this has brought to us, and it kind of was thrust upon us, was having to live in the present moment. And I know that it gets to be almost like a Hallmark card, just an expression. Oh, we have to live in the present. Okay, well, let's live in the present. Well, March 17th of 2020, when everything got shut down and, things were changing hour by hour or minute by minute, and offices were being shut down and things were being closed and you were being sent home and you didn't know what was going to happen next, where the school is going to be closed, my office going to be closed. My gosh, there's a curfew, okay? We were thrust into living in the present moment. And it's really uncomfortable. We talk about it all the time, but most people live their lives based on what they can call up from the past and rely on to say, okay, when this happens, okay, I know that this is the progression and this is what we're going to go through. No, didn't happen that way. Nobody ever said to us, okay, here's what's happened. You're in a pandemic and everything gets shut down. This is what happens next. So it really was a beautiful moment to be living in the present, but it freaked a lot of people out and people couldn't handle it of not knowing what was going to happen next. One of the sayings from Deepak Chopra is we need to embrace the uncertain. I heard it years ago and it's resonated with me ever since. It's a very exciting way to live, but it makes a lot of people uncomfortable. So what I know is that this year, it has absolutely positively had so much good in it. It has had so much, there's been a lot of excitement. There's been a lot of challenges, but the challenges in life are what make it exciting. All right. It wasn't just laying back and saying, okay, life as usual. This was like, how is this working for me? And we really had the opportunity to apply a teaching that we know is phenomenal in helping us live better, fuller, and more abundant lives. And, and on that, as far as an abundant life, as I wrap up, there's two things that I would like to read to you from Ernest Holmes. And one is an abundance affirmation. Actually, I do believe that I can put this here and share the screen and you can read it along with me. And just fill in your name where I am as we read along with this. I, Neil Pinkman, know that God is the source of all supply and that money is God in action. I know that all my good is here now. I am so rich and so full that I have an abundance of money to spare and share today and always. I know that true prosperity includes perfect health, perfect wealth, and perfect happiness. These words, which I speak in faith, now activate universal law, and I accept the results. I bless all that I have now, and I bless the increase. And I know that I now prosper in every way. I give thanks for this good, and so it is. And that is what I will know for each one of you in this new coming year of 2022, and a year of connection, and knowing that you will take what you've applied in the past year to be here today, and yes, getting the prize for all of this and living this abundant life in the new year. And as we do wrap up the checkbook, as we do wrap up the textbook, I guess there's too much in that abundance there for me. I want to go to how it was summarized by Ernest Holmes on page 423. 423 in the textbook, since it has been the year of the textbook we've been studying. And it's called Final Conclusion. And let me just tell you what he says here. In conclusion, what the world needs is spiritual conviction followed by spiritual experience. I would rather see a student of this science prove its principle than to have him repeat all the words of wisdom that have ever been uttered. It is far easier to teach the truth than it is to practice it. but the practice of truth is personal to each. And in the long run, no one can live our life for us. To each is given what he needs, and the gifts of heaven come alike to all. How we shall use these gifts is all that matters. To hold one's thoughts steadfastly to the constructive, to that which endures, and to the truth may not be easy in a rapidly changing world, but to the one who makes the attempt, much is guaranteed. The essence of spiritual mind healing and all of true religious philosophy is an inner realization of the presence of perfection within and around about. It is the hope of heaven, the voice of God proclaiming, I am that which thou art that which I am. Nothing else I can possibly add to that. Let us take that into treatment. So what I hear right here and now, what I know here in this day, in this moment, there is a power and a presence. There is the power of the law and the presence of the love that is being expressed from source, from God, through each person, each individual, every moment. And that beautiful, exquisite expression, so uniquely different person by person, is what energizes this life, energizes this world, and makes this such a beautiful and exciting place to live and be on this plane. I know that as I let go, release, and allow this creative flow to happen through me, knowing that it always happens for me, knowing that God is good all the time, that everything that happens for me in that flow of good that comes in that creative process, that I do live an abundant life in so many ways. I am so grateful for this life. I am so grateful for this community. I am so grateful for this teaching. I am so grateful to be here today. I am so grateful to be here tomorrow to share this teaching with everybody and to spread the word that has made such an incredibly large difference, not in just in my life, but in the life of so many people. And I know of each person here today. In that gratitude, it's an unending gratitude, a deep gratitude, not even just an appreciation. It is a part of who I am and what I know that I am so grateful for this. I release these words in that gratitude, knowing that the power and the presence is there to always say yes. And so it is.
There's a feeling of expansion in my chest. There's a knowing that this day will be my best. There's a quiet voice that speaks above the rest. It's spirit rising. There's a rumble in the earth beneath my feet. There's a knowing that I'm perfect and complete. There's a light in me that darkness can't defeat. It's spirit rising. Untie the ties that bind you. Let spirit just unwind you. Let the light remind you of who you are. Surrender to the feeling. Spirit is revealing. Freedom has no ceiling. Yes, you go far. You go far. you go far. There's a tingle in the space around my heart. There's connection to this world that I'm a part. There's a joy that my new life's about to start. It's spirit rising. A joy that my new life's about to start. Spirit rising. 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 Spirit rising in me, lifting me up, setting me free. Yeah, spirit rising in me, lifting me up, setting me free. Yeah, spirit, spirit rising in me, lifting me up, setting me free. Spirit, spirit rising in me, lifting me up, setting me free. Rising in me, lifting me up, setting me free. Yeah, spirit, spirit rising in me, lifting me up, setting me free. Rising in me, up, setting me, rising in me, rising in me, lifting me up, setting me free. Yeah, spirit rising in me, that's what, lifting me up, setting me free.